time for some real education, although it needs no formal introduction, at least according to Dr. Duke. The Lord of the Rings is the preeminent epic high fantasy novel of all time, written by J.R.R. Tolkien. Set in Middle-earth, the story began as a sequel to The Hobbit, but eventually developed into a much larger work. It's one of the best-selling books ever written, with more than 150 million copies sold. But did you know that Tolkien considered writing a sequel?
Yeah, as I mentioned before, this is Biden inauguration week. We made the theme of Instant Classic for this whole week tyranny and dystopia, right? Because that's what's awaiting America. And we've given you some really cool quotes the first 3 days of the week dealing with these issues. I want to take a little right turn here. Tolkien, actually, I'm not interested in talking today about his Lord of the Rings, which is the great masterpiece. I'm talking about the fact that Tolkien actually at one point in the 60s, or the early 60s, was contemplating writing a sequel to the Lord of the Rings. And he didn't die until 1973, so that would have given him 20 years to give us perhaps another epic that would have been interesting to read. But he ultimately decided against it. The title of the book was tentatively going to be The New Shadow. The old shadow of Sauron has been brushed away, but what's the new evil shadow that was befalling? And in order to glorify and to underscore what we think about what's coming under a Biden administration in this dystopia week, I want to give you an example of what Tolkien wrote about why he didn't write the sequel. He says, quote, "I did begin a story called The New Shadow, placed about 100 years after the downfall of Sauron, but it proved both sinister and depressing. Since we are dealing with men, humankind, it is inevitable that we should be concerned with the most regrettable feature of human nature, their quick satiety with good." That is so brilliant. He stopped writing what inevitably would have been another spiral down into evil for Middle-earth by pointing out that the single most prescient characteristic of mankind is our regrettable satiety with good. We can't deal with prosperity very well. We are lousy at having good times. For 200 years in America, we had unprecedented prosperity. We had unprecedented liberty and freedom. We had a system that was the envy of the world, and now we've given it away to socialists and quasi-autocratic posers. Tolkien was right. He couldn't write a sequel to The Lord of the Rings because it would be too predictable in terms of the golden age that was won being pissed away by human beings who could not stand prosperity. America has been handed over to punks and autocrats and socialists because we just couldn't stand as much prosperity as we had.